I grew up in Portugal in a very Catholic family, so faith and God was always something very present. One day, it stuck in my mind, I don't know quite well why. I went to confession and there was a priest. He asked me, he said, "Are you afraid of suffering?" And immediately I said, I don't want to suffer in my life. I want to make choices where I don't suffer. Maybe my vocation started in that moment. The young people of the Focolare had a band, a musical band. So they came to my town for a concert. Right after the concert, they invited us for a summer gathering that was happening a month after. In the beginning, I didn't want to go because I was studying to enter law school. But then my mom, my friends convinced me and I went. I cannot tell you what was the thing that really struck me. But I saw people that were happy and that were fulfilled. Young people, older people, couples, children. And that attracted me. I said, I want to have what they have. I didn't quite know what was it, but I knew that whatever it was, I wanted that. Little by little, I discovered the spirituality that is behind the Focolare. And one of the things that struck me the most was to understand that I don't have to do amazing things. I don't have to go on a mission to a faraway country. I can live the gospel in a radical way, just being who I am, where I am. This was a huge transformation in my life. For example, at that time, I had a very bad relationship with my dad. We were always fighting to the point that at a certain point I decided, even though we are in the same house, it doesn't exist for me anymore. So I would just ignore him. And one day, so I was with some friends of the Focolare, and I was just sharing how difficult it is with my dad, how all the choices he made are so wrong, how we are all in the family suffering because of this. And this friend of mine told me, she said, "Do you remember that there's Jesus also in your dad?" And that was another one of those moments that I thought in that moment, it can't be. It can't be. Then I went home and this kept coming in my mind. There's Jesus in my dad. And at a certain point I thought, well, if the gospel is true, and there's really Jesus in my dad, I have to try. I have to give him the chance. And there was one day that I remember with all the details, because it was really for me a moment of God, very strong. So we went shopping, grocery shopping with my dad. And at a certain point, the car had a problem and it just stopped in the middle of the road. It was dark because it was evening. And we had to stay there. My mom was coming to pick us up, so we stayed in the car waiting. Usually, I would be furious with my dad and just telling him how wrong this and that and arguing. And that day, I decided I'm going to try to listen, to talk with him. And those 20, 30 minutes that we were there were really a moment of light for me, because my dad start opening up and start sharing with me about also the bad choices that he made and how sorry he was that his choices were making all of us, the family, suffering. And I rediscover someone that I didn't know. And again, that Jesus is in your dad came to my mind. Of course, there's always ups and downs, but I can say that today I have a relationship with my dad. Since I was a child, I had things very clear in my mind. I would get married, have my career, have a beautiful family, and just go from there. One day it was Sunday, I went to Mass. I was sitting behind a young couple with 3 beautiful children. And it was beautiful for me. I found myself looking at them and seeing the relationship, and I thought, oh, I would love to have a family like this one day. And at the same time that I was saying this to myself, I felt something inside saying, this is too little for you. You know, when people say to put a jacket that doesn't quite fit you, I felt that jacket was too small for me. It was beautiful, and I couldn't understand why. So I just put it aside and I said, don't worry. Until one day, I was with the youth of the Focolare at another World Youth Day in Poland, in Częstochowa. And there, Pope John Paul II invited all the youth present to open our hearts to God. During that trip, one of the places we visited was Trent, which is the city where Chiara Lubich, the founder of the Focolare, was born. And so in one of the churches there that we were visiting, I just felt, like St. Ignatius of Loyola, to drop my weapons and say, okay, Jesus, I've been fighting with you all this time. I'm gonna stop fighting. So you tell me what you want for my life, what you want me to do with my life. I just ask you one thing. As a lawyer, I always have to make contracts. So I said, okay, I do what you want, but you have to promise me I will be happy. My life will be happy. It was like having these little lights coming up in my soul, connecting so many things, like the desire for being happy that I always had during all my life. That moment when the priest asked me, why are you afraid to suffer? So all these things start making sense in my soul. And so I had promised to Jesus that I would give him a chance. And so I decided to give him all my life, to follow him in the Focolare. I live in a community. I'm consecrated, and right now I live in a community in Maryland, close to Washington, D.C. We are 5 in our community. Our community life is very similar to a family. The question I have very often is, who cooks? So we try to take turns, and each day someone cooks. So if you have a good cook that day, you eat very well. If you have a not so good cook, you eat a little less. But also this is a source of many experiences, because in Portugal, one of the typical dishes is fish. And I always thought that I know how to cook fish. until I was cooking with with another Focolarina, and she decided to teach me how to cook fish. No, so it was a moment where I want to say, "You don't teach me how to cook fish," and then I stopped. Why not? Why not to let her, to give her the possibility of showing me something new? No, so we take advantage of these moments together to continue living this love of neighbor. And so basically, it's a very normal life. The only special thing about it is that everything is to grow the presence of Jesus among us. Jesus says, where 2 or 3 are united in my name, there I will be among them. And for us in the Focolare, this is essential. We want Jesus to be among us. So who is a Focolarino? Is someone who follows God in a radical way, leaving everything. So the gospel says, leave your fields, we leave our fields, our jobs. Leave your family, we leave our family. So we take literally the invitation of Jesus to follow him. The specific of why we follow him is to fulfill his testament, that all may be one. So who is a Focolarino? Someone who leaves everything behind to follow God and build unity in the world. Growing up in Portugal, I never really thought much about other religions, even other churches, because culturally Portugal is a Catholic place. Now I've been living in the US for 20 years. I met people from different faith traditions, different Christian churches. And that has been a huge enrichment in my life. I used to work in New York in a university setting, and my closest colleagues and friends happened to be Jewish and also very committed Jewish, so trying to live their faith in their workplace. We decided to meet once a month and read 2 small texts, one Catholic and one Jewish. And then we would read it, share, talk about it. Those moments were extremely beautiful for me. I learned so much. And when there were moments, and there were several moments of challenging situations at work, that unity that we build, that trust that we build among each other was essential. I feel that with my friends from other traditions, I learn how to be a better Catholic. I go deeper in my faith, and I learn how to live the gospel better. For all the suffering that's always it somehow signed my childhood, my teenager years, my I thought that the goal would be to avoid suffering. One of the pillars of the Focolare is Jesus forsaken. No? And that moment when Jesus on the cross cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me? So in that moment when on the cross he felt the abandonment of God the Father, and he put his life in God's hands, was not only the maximum of love that he could have for me and for each one of us, but was also an example that I personally could follow. As we all know, suffering is not something we can avoid. It's part of life, no? And I think Jesus forsaken helped me to understand that is a good part of life, because it's pure love, no? And it's the moment where he loved the most and I can love the most. So there have been many moments, difficult, challenging trials, but the joy and the happiness of following God is bigger and deeper, also because of those difficult moments. Going back to my agreement with Jesus, yes, but you have to make sure I'm happy. He did keep his part of the deal.